Okay, so welcome to the team call, you guys. Really quickly before we get started, I am going to throw a poll on our team page to chat about this time in general. If we want to keep this as our team call time or we want to move it a little bit later. Ironically, we just talked about that, but I am going to throw that in our team page to make sure you vote on it in terms of like best time for you so that we can try and catch as many people as possible. We have every single time zone on our team, so I know it's not the easiest thing, but that's all I have for you guys. Also, check out the live video that I did today. It was a general training essentially for newer coaches, I would say, but it's a good overview for even current coaches on volume and checking things like that and how that equates to compensation and all that jazz. So I pinned it into the unit of our team page. So make sure you're always checking that tab as I'm like plugging things in there and updating stuff, just so it's like an easy table of contents, if you will, for you guys so that you always have a resource when you need it. Okay, that's the only housekeeping things that I have outside of the breaking news post that I just threw up on our team page. Go check that out. It's about 10 rounds and some promo codes for March. But okay, let's dig into things. I am so excited. I had talked to Sarah. Well, we talk like every day, so that doesn't really count, but we specifically, I was like, we had talked about Lynsey a little bit and just like Sarah's retreat in general that you guys had. And I told her somebody that I was looking for to speak to our team on a particular topic. And I asked her if Lynsey would be a great fit. And she was like, yes, that's exactly what she's great at. That's, you know, her jam. And I'm going to let her tell you like her story and everything like that, and why she's coaching and, you know, her, you know, all about her. But I'm excited to hear from her because if anybody is busy, she is for sure busy. And I feel like I'm a chicken with my head cut off and I have one kid and she has four. So she's going to talk all about that, how she works this business in the pockets that she has, how she moves this business forward, how she finds her own resources and all that stuff. So I'm so excited, Lynsey. You can just take it away. Tell us about you. And I am all ears.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your team call. I was definitely flattered when I saw that message pop up from you, Stephanie. So I met Stephanie in Dallas. I live outside of Houston. I met Stephanie in Dallas for a Super Saturday with Sean T, Transform 20. So that's how we met, and also through Sarah England as well. But I've been coaching, like for real coaching, about a year and a half. And I say for real coaching because I didn't really do too much in the beginning, basically just asked my friends to join me and they did. But I am a mom of four. I have a 8-year-old girl, a 6-year-old girl who's super spicy. I have a 5-year-old boy, and a 3-year-old daughter. Two of them are in school and 2 of them are in preschool. So I have them a lot. I'm also a nanny for a 4-month-old baby girl, full-time. She gets to my house about 6:30 and leaves around 5:30 or 6 every day. So I am busy. I schlep kids from place to place, and I volunteer at the school when I can. The other part is that my husband is a student. He has a full-time job, but he's also a student at MIT. And MIT is in Boston. So he is gone a lot. So I'm single momming it a lot. A lot of my evenings are I'm just solo. So I have had to really figure out what works for me and what doesn't work for me. When, working through all of that was a challenge. But I think I've got it down pretty well. I used to be a teacher. I was a former teacher, kindergarten and first grade. So schedules to me are like life. I mean, I needed a schedule for everything. As a teacher, like everything, every minute is planned out. While I know I was flexible and I had to roll with the punches and some things happen and some things don't get done, I still needed to have a schedule. And as I started coaching and as my kids needed to, be somewhere at this time and kids were waking up earlier and my time was getting more limited and more limited, I realized that the schedule that I was making for myself was far too rigid. I was used to the teaching schedule. I was just used to that scene of chaos, that I really needed to step back and say, what's working for me, what's working for my family, and what's working for my business. And so what I found out now is that I strictly work off of the business activity tracker. And I have a binder and I have a page, 1 page per week. And it is on my counter from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed. And my laptop is also open the whole time. And some mornings I can sit down and work for half an hour and not be interrupted. And some mornings that is just not the case. So I do have to roll with the punches. I do have to literally work in the pockets of my time. While the kids are eating breakfast, there goes 3 invites. While my kids are putting on shoes, I will respond quickly to an email. Things like that. And I just start checking off. And I may not complete that whole, page or that, the column by noon. And that is totally fine. I know that that's working for me. And my kids are totally screaming in the background. I hope that's not disrupting you guys. But I do have to really, really be flexible and not get discouraged with, oh my goodness, I wanted to do this, this, and this during this time, and I can't. First and foremost, I'm a mother and a wife, and I do put my family first. And so if I don't get everything done that day, so be it, moving on. I'm still working my business. I'm still doing something for my business. I actually have a to-do list for my business, and I have a to-do list for my home and my family. And I just work from that throughout the day. The other day I was working on my challenge group, and I went live in the carpool line. Like, that was the only time that I had that was quiet. I had 3 kids who passed out in the car watching Peppa Pig. Like that was the only time that I had. So looking at my time and my minutes differently has really helped me to fill the time wisely, or a little more smart than I was before. I still feel like I'm a newer coach. While I did hit diamond, and that was a big, big thing for me, I still feel like I'm a new coach. And because of that, I'm constantly learning, constantly adding tools to my own toolkit, and constantly just like wondering, right? So for me as a former teacher, what I always used to tell my students is figure it out, look for the answer, find the answer, solve the problem, try to solve it on your own, and then come ask me. And I try to treat the business the same way. Like, I try to figure out the answers on my own. I didn't know how to make, Instagram stories. I didn't know how to do Canva, and then Stephanie taught me how to team call. But I have Googled things. I have searched YouTube for things. Searching the FAQs has been amazing. Searching the TNT page has been perfect. For me, when I go out to find the answer on my own, there is so much more learning involved. There is so much more, ownership of that knowledge. I remember it more. I have more interest in it, and it's so much more helpful to me to find the answer on my own than for me to ask. Now, yes, there have been times where I'm like, Sarah, what do I do about this? And she will help me. And there has been plenty of times where I'm like, okay, I tried to figure this out and I've made a big mistake. How can you help me? I have learned from my mistakes. I have definitely been failing forward. But for me, being resourceful has been truly helpful for myself and for my coaches that I am now leading. What else was I going to say? Oh, I also started basically right off the bat. I was in Sarah's challenge groups, I think of 2 months. And then I started to run my own. And I don't know if you Stephanie, if your coaches run their groups with you or not, or if they're running their own. Do they? Some of them?
Well, we have like a large virtual gym that's like team wide, but I know a lot of them individually will have either their own group in a chat pod or in some other separate group where they can support their clients and coaches and downlines that are more comfortable with it. But we specifically, I don't think anyone on this team actually uses the challenge tracker app. I know like Sarah is huge on that, so I don't know if you probably use that or not. But yeah, so we have like a big group, but they definitely have like a separate group. A few of them on here have a separate group that they support their own people on.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't really do well with the challenge tracker app. Like, I don't know. It's just like one more thing that I need to keep track of, and I like to go live, and it doesn't have that option yet. But I found that once I did run my own challenge group, I felt so much more vested in the business. I felt like I was able to talk about it with much more confidence. And, you know, I felt like my relationships were so much more tight knit. So, you know, as far as like me finding what worked for me in my home with my kids and my crazy family, being resourceful and running my own groups, I feel like that has really, really helped me take my business and move it forward, and tailor it to what fits us best. I know that Sarah really likes to work all in the morning, and that's not for me. She likes to, get everything done before the kids are up, and that works for her, and it doesn't work for me. I know that, some people like to go straight to Sarah for questions, and that's just not me. I learn differently, and I encourage my leaders to do the same, like find it out on your own. And again, running my challenge groups, those three things have just been helpful to me as a newer coach. What else, Stephanie?
I love that. And so I still I'm what, 2.5, almost 2.5 years in. I still think I'm a new coach too. I still hear coaches 7, 8 years in the business that are like, I'm still learning, right? I was at that Florida retreat and they were like, hey, teach me this. How do you do this? Right? Like they're still learning too. So I definitely think sometimes newer coaches come into this business, they're like, oh my God, there's so much to learn. And it's really just like baby steps, right? It's not like you woke up one day and you're like, I know how to do everything, right? It's just learning it step by step as you encounter the problem. So I love that. And I'm very much so the same way, probably from just schooling. Like I am the type where, and I think this is everybody, right? Like it is different if you go do the research and you learn it on your own and it's like engraved in you, because then you can then teach it, you understand it, as opposed to like someone telling you, right? So like a prime example, I am awful at this. If my mother-in-law is next to me and she's like helping me cook and like telling me what to do, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so from this, and it's like done, right? It tastes amazing. But if I had to sit there with the ingredients list and like do every step and read it and remember it, like I would make it so much better the next time around, as opposed to like not knowing what the heck I'm doing. So totally love that. I'm the same way. And I wanted to say, I think, so you said like everybody does things differently. And I love that because, so when I first started, I was in Holly's group one time, I think my first month, and I was like a challenger in there. Like I didn't have anybody underneath me. And I realized very quickly, like, I want to do things different. Like this is not me, right? This is not how I learn, or this is not how I encourage people or find inspiration. And I very quickly, like after that first group, started running my own group. Now that was small, like very, very small, but it also meant so intimate, and you're like so invested in your clients. And I'm sure you feel this way, Lynsey, like you take on a different role in your business, I think, because all of a sudden you stepped into like a leadership role. Now you're responsible for these people. Now it's like, oh, like it's not just like we're all in Sarah's group. It's like, hey, you're in my group. Like you trusted me to buy a challenge pack from me. Like I'm going to help you get these results, right? So I love everything you said. I did have a quick question though, because I think a few of us have asked this. I struggled with it in the beginning too, because I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I was kind of like, it's just everything, right? Like for you, I'm sure you're hauling kids around, and then there's pickup, and then if they're doing classes, and then it's like this pickup, this bedtime, and then this holiday at school, and this thing, and like I definitely have that like home to-do list and school to-do list and like work to-do list, but you're always on the go. So let me ask you this. You said your Success Club system tracker is always like out on the, table from morning to night. So like if you're on the go, like let's say you are in the carpool line, do you just like, do you already know because you've mapped out your day, like, hey, today when I'm in the carpool line, I'm going live, I'm doing this? Or do you have anything digital on your phone that's like helping you track what's going on?
I don't have it digital. Maybe I should. That's kind of a good idea. I don't, but before I leave, like I know what I've done throughout the day. And I mean, honestly, sometimes I will plan something for the carpool line and they're screaming kids, so I can't do that. Or, we get to gymnastics and I have my laptop out and I can't work because a mom is chatting at me or whatever. I mean, it happens, but I do know kind of what I still need to do. And usually, you know what it is? Invites. Like
Yep.
always the stinking invites or the follow-up. So that's on my phone. I have that with me all the time. And if I have 5 minutes, I'll invite, um, I should, we do have it. We do have an app for the business tracker app, the business tracker, whatever it's called, the BAT.
I used it for a while, and my team knows this because I say this. Like, if I did not have to turn in a tracker every week for some like group or some bet or whatever, I personally would really struggle doing it. And I do because I downloaded the app and I was like, oh, I'm doing this. Like every day I'm logging in here, I'm doing the things. And to be honest, like it's just another app that I had to keep up with. So I couldn't, it was just so hard. But I think you get into the groove. So do you have kind of like, let's say, I think we all have this, right? I mean, life is going to throw us off course, but do you have a general idea like, okay, if the day goes perfect, these are the things I do? Like I get 30 minutes to myself in the morning, or like, do you have kind of like a groove of things?
I do. I definitely always do my 30 minutes of press play, usually sometimes in the morning. And that is when my kids are awake. When my kids are sleeping is when I do the lives. It's when I do the things that require a lot more thinking, like the follow-ups and the, the inviting and just the more creative side that I can't do with somebody on me, literally on me. I definitely try to get in that kind of thing before the baby comes in the morning, because once she gets here, then I'm really kind of tied up. But if the day goes perfectly, I will get my inviting done and my follow-ups done and goodbye. That's kids at the door. Those two things, my invites and follow-ups are a non-negotiable. Like I have to get those done. Otherwise nothing will happen in my business at all.
I love that, because I think in this business I was just talking about it to somebody else about time management and how in this business there's always going to be something more to do. There's always something you can put at the bottom of that to-do list, and it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow because there's always something you can do. And so for me, it's just like, I'm sorry, I thought she was like screaming. It's just me and her, so I'm like making sure she's like not outside somewhere or like whatever. I'm like trying to hear from her. So like for me, it's like if I know I have a really, really, really busy day, maybe I can't even throw a post up on social media. Maybe I can, I have time for my workout and I've got like 15 minutes next to Jaden's bed while she's trying to put herself to sleep. And that's when I send out invites and follow-ups. I might not show up on social media. I've logged a few stories on Instagram, but I'm pretty distant, right? And that's how it is sometimes. But you got to do what matters in the time that you have. So let me ask you this. This is like out left field, like not into this thing, but So a lot of the girls on here are like pushing to emerald or pushing to diamond or gaining diamond back and stuff like that. Do you have any tips from like as a newer coach, like how you achieve diamond or maybe kind of your story on how you got there, like that kind of stuff? Any tips for them?
Well, I was in the diamond bet, and that was huge for me because, you're there's there's deadlines, and I think we all do so much better when there is a deadline. Um, and it was fast deadlines, right? So, um, like I mean, I think for all of us, when we have something to do, and we say, you have 2 weeks to do that, the 2 days before it's due, you're like hustling to get it done. Those kind of deadlines don't exist in a Diamondback. Like it's constant. And so if you don't want to fail, you're going to make that deadline. And I just kept at it, and literally used all my extra minutes. There wasn't scrolling around on Instagram. There wasn't scrolling around on Facebook. There wasn't getting, going down a rabbit hole in Pinterest for a birthday party. There was none of that. That didn't happen during that diamond bet time. And it made a huge difference to actually use my time wisely. What's my purpose here? What's my goal? Why am I even in this bet to begin with? What am I learning? And how can I do every single thing I can in these tiny pockets of time? Literally at my counter, oh, you need juice? Hang on, go get the juice. Come back. Like that's how I like. Oh, your bagel's ready. Make the bagel. Come back.
Yeah.
You want Peppa Pig? Sure, I put Peppa Pig and come back. That's how it is, and that's how I made it happen. I mean, Sarah will tell you. I was like, I gotta do this.
I love that, but like when and it's not like that 24/7, right?
It is
Like
not.
during push periods, that's very much so it. And I think sometimes, at least when I was a beginning coach, I thought that like everything had to be perfect, like like the situation had to be perfect, like she's definitely asleep and I'm like sitting on the computer, right, doing things. Then I realized I was like, this is crap. Like she is not going to be silent, and I'm just going to send this voice memo and she's screaming in the background anyways, like because that's real. And I think at least like I attract a lot of moms, so like they can relate to that. Like their kids are barking too. I mean, like in the background, they're like, oh my gosh, thank God. Like now I can send a voice memo back and I don't feel awkward. And like she's so professional, right? It's like I'm just a normal human being like you are, girlfriend. Like we're just trying to do this thing together. And I think that definitely helps. And it's when we say you can work this business in the pockets of your time, you totally can. Can you give it more time and be more self-sufficient with time? 100%. I am not the best at that. Kaylee and I were just talking about it, like trying to set hours for ourselves in terms of like, so I only have Jaden, obviously. So when she's at school, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm like, that's a big block of time. Like I have to be so efficient in that time period. And knowing like my hours and like all that kind of stuff, because I think a lot of us as moms, as wives, as whatever, we're like juggling all the balls, right? Especially when our husbands are gone. It's like, oh my God, like I can't forget this, can't forget that. Oh crap, I have to go run by the store to grab cupcakes before I show up at school today. Like I have definitely been there, done that. So
It
I
really
love that.
doesn't take a whole lot of time to sit down and send an invite. It doesn't take that much time. Like I send a text to my mom and it takes too long because I got a word to write to my mom. Like it doesn't take that much time when you truly think about it.
Yes.
And
So how do you give tips to neuro coaches who are like, like I don't really know what to say or don't know how to word an invite, or like kind of, how we see newer coaches come in, they kind of overthink that invite. What is your approach like?
I mean, I still overthink my invite sometimes. And you just have to step back and say, well, what do I really want them to know? And how can I say it in a way that is very simple? Because to me, I just want to ask them. But that's my personality. Like if they know me at all, they're going to say, well, that's Lynsey. She's just going to ask you. So, like that's just how I am. I don't tap dance around things. We're just going to come right out and say it. And that's just my personality. That might not be their personality. But to me, it's how would you want somebody to ask you? I don't ever want to get a hey girl. Like, I don't do hey girl. Like, I don't do hey girl. I'm like, here's the deal. I have I am running this group, and I think that whatever it's a clean weight group or a whatever your group is, and just come right out and say it. Like for me, simple is key. Simple is better than a whole long, all the things. I also think that there's no script that fits everyone. So I have a very new coach that's like, just like, give me
back. I see a dog in the front yard. I'm going to be right back. Keep talking though.
Oh no. But ladies, I am like was super shy when it came to inviting at first. I don't know about any of you, but it was like my worst nightmare, inviting. It's like, I'm not asking these people to join my group. Like, they don't know me. I only knew them in high school. Like, that wasn't a very good relationship then. But I just had to get over that because, I mean, truly that's where our business will grow. That's how that's just all a part of it. I was talking about inviting, Stephanie. If you don't, if you still have that fear, I mean, that's the only way you're going to build your business. It's the only way. And I had to get over that real quick.
You kind of listened to in the beginning.
What's that?
What did you listen to in the beginning? Or like, what are you listening to now? Or what do you love?
I am listening to Trent Shelton's book right now on Audible. He's fantastic. I've listened to Girl Wash Your Face, and You Are a Badass is my all-time favorite.
The one I know a lot of new coaches, or a lot of coaches have their coaches read The Slight Edge, which is awesome. But I definitely read, or I tell my coaches, You Are a Badass to read as the first one, just because that was like that fueled me. Like, that was like, I can conquer the world. Like, I read that and I was like, in my but I love her.
But the thing is with PD is, if I don't listen to it all the time, I slip back into that like I'm not, I get unmotivated quickly. Like, I constantly, especially as a stay-at-home mom who was in the work field, like, I was praised from my administrators. I was given, pieces of paper that said good things on it. Like, I need that affirmation. It fuels me. It makes me do a better job. And at home, nobody is saying, good job on those dishes. You really nailed that laundry. Like, nobody. And so that PD for me was, and still is, so important to keep me going as a mom, a wife, and a coach. I mean, it does. I need it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I am all about it. And there's a few girls on here, like, are super consistent with their PD, I know. So, and I know that is huge. Like, anytime you're struggling in this business, you need to dive into PD. Like, it's so silly. And I thought that was the dumbest thing anybody could ever tell me. So I was like, I don't read. One, I hate reading. Two, I don't need self-help. Like, I'm fine. I'm sane. Like, I don't need any of that. And until I started reading it, and then it started changing me, until I started listening to it. Sometimes for me, listening is easier. Like, only now, like a year and a half in, I'm really enjoying like sitting down and reading like 5 or 10 minutes of like a book. But in the beginning, I very much so liked listening. And it was somebody that I liked their voice, that I could listen to them. Maybe it was a podcast. And in the beginning, maybe it was like some YouTube motivational videos that I was like, yes, I really love that. So whatever like gets you going, like, whoever it is, whatever it is, like listen, read that, because that's what you need at the moment. Everybody's going to need the same thing. Some people struggle with invites. Some people struggle with posting on social media, getting past that fear. Some people, it's, a whole ton of things. So definitely have to read. I was just curious, picking your brain in terms of like what you love to do. But this was so helpful, I hope, especially for some of these newer coaches on here. I love hearing from newer coaches what their process is, how they went about learning it, how did they get to where they are. And I always feel like in this business, we all do the same thing. We all sell the same stuff, right? And a lot of us train on the same stuff too. But, and my husband will tell you this because he hates when I say this, he can tell me the same thing 10 million times, but I listen like I hear it in a PD book, or some girlfriend texted it to me and I'm like, oh, it clicked. And I say it and he's like pissed, or he's like, I've been telling you that for like 2 years, right? So it's just like, you never know how somebody might phrase something that you're like, that's it. Like, that's it right there, right? And it clicks for you. So thank you so much for taking time and chatting with us. I know everybody is so busy on this call. I know Heather is doing like classes and commuting, and Jazz is at the bar somewhere, and Mara's probably breastfeeding, like all the things. You guys are here though. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Lynsey, for taking the time and talking with us. Did you guys have any last questions for her that you wanted to type in the chat for her? Or you can unmute yourself before we hop off. I always feel like this is like the most awkward part to ask people. Okay, no, all right. No questions. Thank you so much, girl, for hopping on and chatting with us. Everybody, I will see you in 2 weeks or next week? Next week. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.